Get started. Today I want to talk about why I got into a PhD or why people get into a PhD, because reasons why people get into a PhD: to add knowledge or trying to impact people through the research that they're doing. A PhD typically could take between 3 to 7 years depending on where you're doing it, what your background is in, as well as what your research field is also about. It could also be for long-term career goal. There are certain fields that require to have a PhD to actually be in those fields. So for such people, they'll definitely have to do a PhD whether they like it or not. For some people, it's also the quest for knowledge. They enjoy to study. If you're that kind of person, a PhD is definitely for you. For some people too, they want to be a specialist in a subject area, and the PhD is the way to go. There are also some bad reasons that people get into a PhD, but I don't think I would even want to get into that. That's a whole video. Anyway, why did I get into a PhD? I got into a PhD due to certain varied reasons that all came together. So first of all, let me backtrack a bit. So I used to work in industry. My background is in biomedical engineering. I used to work in industry for a bit. I stopped working in that field, and then I was looking for something more. Remember, when I was in my undergrad masters, I had this perceived notion of my ideal dream job. I got into that ideal dream job and I realized I wasn't really happy, as in I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Let me use that word. I tended to look out for different things. I got myself into a lot of things. So I went into consulting with a civil engineering firm, and I also got into recycling electronic waste. And then eventually someone started whispering to me that there was an academic job. They think I'll be ideal for it. I also applied for the job. So when I went into teaching, it eventually felt like I was back in school, because literally everything you're studying, you have to impart that knowledge to other students, as well as also to inspire them what they could do with their degree. So in the process of being in that academic environment, one other condition of when I started to do the academic job was that at some point I would have to leave and go and do a PhD, because they require that. But when they said that, I think that one of the first questions I asked the dean at that point was, are you gonna pay for me to do a PhD? Is this some free? Because the department in which I was in did not have funding, or they were neither running a program on a PhD program. So he's like, no. I was like, so where will I get the money? I was like, you have to look for it. I was like, okay. That's exactly what I did. So I started teaching. I did that for almost 4 years. I started teaching, and I realized actually I enjoy what I'm doing. And when you get an academic role, there are 3 main components: the teaching bit, the second part is enterprise or outreach, and then the last bit is research. So I was doing all 3 in bits. But what I think I loved about my job was the flexibility in terms of what you can do. You can be there and do the barest minimum, and you can also be there and do get to your max. Then I started to understand all this while I was doing my job, I had that PhD in mind. But I think I also was put into an environment that would teach me exactly what a PhD was, because when I was in the US, most PhD students I saw used to I'm very sorry if you're a US PhD student, please forgive me, but they all seemed to be quite miserable, and I don't want to be a miserable person. But being in that environment, majority of the academics that were trained outside the country, so I had to understand what a PhD student was, what was required of you, expectations, possible things that could happen. So I was like, oh, I can actually do this thing. I can actually do a PhD. So getting to the halfway point through that 4-year period, I started applying to schools, applying for grants, found to fund my PhD because there was still no program running. However, during the last bit of, I think the last 6 months, during the last 6 months of that work contract, they had just started a new program. So I was applying around, I got my rejections, I got schools that wanted me. It was quite a process, but I'm very happy I'm in one. My current PhD is on facial prosthesis. Thank you for this. I'll be putting out a second video. It's probably going to be really short about the process of applying for a PhD program, things you should be aware of, and how to sell yourself as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click the like button. Don't forget to follow me on all my social media accounts. Thank you and see you soon. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. Go back to work. Go back to work. Go back to work. Go back to work.